YAYO usage is up 134% in the western United States. I assume that means west of the Mississippi River, California, Arizona, Washington, Seattle, Colorado, etc. New Mexico. New Mexico has a tremendous crime problem, Albuquerque especially, as the Fetty Wizop deaths appear to have been slowing, though they may be going back up in the last few months as the Trump administration. Now remember, to take all these people into custody, I mean, they're hiring new people, but they're also moving people away from DOPE interdiction. Certain land routes are less staffed. So CJNG, the primary beneficiary of the falling apart of the Blood Alliance, the slow administration, of course, the fight in between Chapitos and La Maiza, and a recent two of the sons, Chapo's sons, in custody. They tricked El Mayo, kidnapped and brought him into custody. Everyone's made a deal. 17 members of Chapo's extended family have crossed over into the U.S. to be under the protection of the U.S. government. And the Chapitos faction has made a deal with looks like the winner in all this, El Mencho's crew, Jalisco New Generation, LCJNG, a.k.a. Las Cuatro Letters, the four letters. They have provided some money and manpower to Chapitos in the north to help fight La Maiza, and in exchange, they've given up or given access to some very key smuggling routes into the U.S. that Mencho is using. And as the Fetty Wap thing became public enemy number one, the obsession of U.S. law enforcement, as it should have, was killing so many people, he quietly was expanding and taking over the YAYO business. And in fact, in the last 8 or 9 years, YAYO consumption around the world is up 50%. All-time large crops. CJNG is down in Colombia giving money to farmers overseeing the growing. So coca is a product like anything else, just like potatoes in Iowa. If you put more money into it, like you have, I don't know, better sprinkler systems, better fertilizer, and especially better strains of the plant, you get more production. So it used to be Bolivia was the number one producer. Colombia itself is by far the biggest producer. They're having an all-time crop, bumper crops every year now. And because Colombia is a country doing better economically, the cities are not nearly as dangerous as they used to be. But there's still a lot of revolutionary activity, the jungle areas, a lot of the country not under control. So CJNG and others, you have European dealers that are down there, Italians, Balkans, directly part of the growing process, or they're right there with the people growing and shipping straight to their countries. And El Mencho has become dominant in YAYO, LCJNG, and just like Sinaloa before them, Atlanta, and especially Chicago, the two biggest inland hubs. Obviously Texas and California is where it's coming in at.
For the first time, cartel kingpin El Mencho tonight is a $15 million man. That is the U.S. government reward just increased and placed on the head of Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho. Such a huge bounty on such a physically insignificant man shows the intensity behind a fugitive manhunt for Chicago's public enemy number one.
He's a person that we would consider as public enemy number one.
Yeah. So that's what's going on right now. YAYO prices are, especially adjusted for inflation, they're the cheapest they've ever been, the biggest crop ever. The consumption had been going down in the U.S. somewhat, but it's back up. It's only up 19% on the East Coast, according to government estimates, but up 134% on the West Coast. You can assume that'll start moving east. People that have drug problems, people that like to get high, a lot of them substitute one for the other. Of course, a lot of people have lost their lives from Fetty. The METHOD has been getting popular, but the YAYO never goes away. It's as crack kind of has waned, though crack never went away, and some say it's back. YAYO has its reputation back as, well, especially compared to METHOD man, and getting more and more popular, up 134% in the western states. So people's usage patterns have changed, and it's Mencho and CJNG benefiting the family. The wife that Mencho has, her relatives have a group called the Queenies, CUINIS. They're known for money laundering. One of them was turned over in the recent turnover of 26 people to the U.S., but they're masters of money laundering. CJNG supposedly has a really good money laundering. Mencho's daughter got in trouble for some money laundering. They own a lot of businesses, estimated to have a $50 billion war chest.
More than 6 years ago, the newly installed head of the Drug Enforcement Administration in Chicago made a startling revelation to the I-Team. A little-known Mexican drug lord named Mencho was to be considered the city's most wanted fugitive and public enemy number one, on a par with the most feared Chicago enemy from an earlier century, Al Capone.
He's a very powerful trafficker in Mexico, and he has cells all over the world.
The file on Mencho bulging in recent years as his new generation cartel seized control of Chicago's street drug sales, and with the territory came wholesale bloodshed. Here,
Mencho is alive. He's in the Sierra Madre Mountains. Visitors that do go get to see him are said to be blindfolded for hours, driven through up in the mountains. There's landmines. His inner guard has rocket launchers, so they're prepared for a helicopter assault. I mean, they're really going to be, you're not. And now that he saw Mencho, El Mayo get tricked off the streets, literally, he's not going to show his face. So to go in and get him when he has landmines and an inner defense with people with rocket launchers, they can take down helicopters, is going to be exceedingly difficult. Perhaps just like for a while, Sinaloa seemed to be the favored cartel of the U.S. government and the Mexicans. Maybe now it's CJNG. They have such a reputation for violence, though.
We can take the fight to one of the largest and most dangerous drug cartels on the planet.
Teams deployed nationwide to execute 100 search warrants and make arrests, including 50 in the Chicago area, considered a major narco hub for the CJNG cartel that has quickly expanded since drug lord El Chapo was locked up for life.
And CJNG has become more prominent and manufactures and traffics in high volumes of methamphetamine and other drugs.
In his first interview as special...
The nation of Ecuador just 6 or 7 years ago had a murder rate the same as the United States. It was a pretty safe country. A lot of U.S. People were retiring there, but its murder rate's gone up like 8 times. Gangsters seized the national TV station. They assassinated the guy that was going to win for president.
A revisar asuntos internacionales, Ecuador está ardiendo y por el cártel Jalisco Nueva Generación hay explosiones, incendios, balaceras, ejecuciones, asesinatos.
The group that was loyal to Sinaloa, the Choneros, their leader El Fito has been extradited to the U.S. and all the Ecuadorian gangs have now shifted their alliance to CJNG. So this is what's happening. Ecuador has been turned into a narco state, primarily under CJNG's control.
Jose Adolfo Macias Villamar, known as Fito, leads the powerful Los Choneros gang. He's wanted by the U.S. on charges of importing weapons and thousands of pounds of cocaine into the country.
This is kind of the Pablo Escobar of Ecuador.
Now, it had been that like Europe was absorbing a lot of the yayo, but it's back popular in the U.S. and with so much of it, the most convenient outlet, of course, is the United States. And if you give your dealers, you say, here, take this, and it's at the price is right, it'll get pushed out onto the streets. People's drug using behavior is somewhat governed, like every other product, by price, right? If you've been buying something from somebody and all of a sudden, I got this too, and it's very cheap and good, people's behaviors change over. So CJNG is growing in power. They're I don't know. I'm sure they have people reading the same DEA reports. They're getting field reports, remember, from all their buyers of what's getting popular, what's not. They were smart. Chapitos went kind of all in on VidiWap, and now that there was such a crackdown on that, they're the ones that were most harmed. They're pretty much over with. But Mencho kept a broad package of products, and he's able to take advantage and really... Now he's flooding, and if the western United States have been flooded, look for in this upcoming year or two. If you live east of the Mississippi, low prices and plenty of you are coming your way, I'm sure. So, that's an update. Do I have some other notes here? What's going on? Drug usage is becoming a real global a thing. For example, an interesting case, relatively small case, but probably she just happened to be one who got caught. A Kenyan woman caught taking a plane or train or something to India. So Africa's becoming become a huge staging ground for all sorts of substances. There's becoming a lot of usage problems in some countries in Africa. Poor countries, easy to corrupt the officials. The Kinahan clan of Ireland is big there, and Kenyan woman caught with liquid yayo in shampoo bottles, several kilos, going to India, where it probably gets a good price. Now, is a couple kilos a big deal? No, but if you're liquefying yayo, that requires more sophisticated labs to extract it out. So they ain't just building a lab in India to extract out 2 kilos. Imagine you have 5-6 women leaving Kenya every day with 2 keys. That's several thousand bricks a year. It adds up. So I always tell people, when you start doing something every day, or almost every day, like is making $1,000 a lot of money. A lot of people are too good to make $1,000. Well, if you made $1,000 every day all year, you made $365,000. Do you think that's a lot of money? And it's very profitable for them selling stuff in those countries, but the U.S. is really the dumping ground. So lots of yayo in the street. It appears anecdotally. I mean, you watch these shows, sure seems like there's still plenty of crackheads. And there's lots of new young crackheads. And as this stuff gets cheaper, there'll be more and more of that. The violence between the remnants of Mayo and Chapo's people has paralyzed Sinaloa. And in the meantime, Guadalajara, which is in Jalisco, which is pretty much solely controlled by CJNG. Guadalajara, second biggest city in, or is it the third biggest? It's the second biggest economy in Mexico. What would be bigger than Guadalajara? Maybe Ciudad Juarez. Guadalajara is thriving. Not as nearly as much violence, though there's some kidnappings and disappearances. CJNG has a very effective street level. They're called puntos, points, where you can buy. So now a lot of money is being generated internally in Mexico. And of course, the most awful thing, there's still the human trafficking going on. And La Diabla, there's a woman who was taken into custody
Border report, a woman in Ciudad Juarez is accused of kidnapping pregnant women, performing illegal C-sections on them, and then trafficking their babies. This is all according to U.S. federal officials. The woman, identified as Marta Alicia Mendez Aguilar, better known as La Diabla, is a key member of the notorious Jalisco New Generation cartel.
Luring pregnant, poor women, maybe from the rural areas. I mean, Mexico is a very high income inequality. So as a whole, as a country, it's what's considered an upper middle income. It's not one of the rich countries, but it's at the high end of the middle income countries. A lot of parts of Mexico are not much different, or you feel like just like you're in the U.S. People tell me the nice parts of Mexico City are some of the nicest places they've been. Even Tijuana now, the nice part, the downtown, I had some dental work done. I had to go in the area. Very nice. You know, it's like being in LA pretty much. But there's poor areas, and this La Diabla woman lured pregnant poor women. They were given food C-sections for the babies, which are sold to U.S. couples for $14,000 each. And if the women passed, their organs were also disposed of. And for those of you that keep up with LA gang stuff, there was just a gang indictment for pimping by Hoover gang members. And one of them was on the phone. I don't know if this was a joke or something crazy, but one of the Hoover pimps was trying to sell a teenage girl to another one and said, if you don't buy her, I'm going to sell her to Mexico for her organs. Now, is that a joke? Is that really going on? It probably is a little bit in this La Diabla women. So if you think this cartel stuff is glamorous, human life has no value other than what they can sell it for. And as ICE is more running around within the U.S., it's pop goes the weasel with crime. I mean, you don't get something for nothing. They're hiring more ICE agents, but they're not going to the border. I mean, they're doing border patrol to keep illegals out, but if you have less oversight of the border guards and different things, the D-rugs get in easier, and Mencho is really now, and CJNG dominates the YAYO business. All-time bumper crops. U.S. is seeing lowest inflation-adjusted prices ever. Use in the western states is up 134%, and they're still stealing babies out of women's stomachs and selling them for $14,000. Anything for money. I mean, one baby, I mean, you do 50 women at $15,000. That's $750,000, but that's all profit. You know, there is no transportation. That's, you lure them there, you do the deed, you dump them in a mass grave, and that's it. So La Diabla working it on the bottom, and El Mencho's strategy on the top, and Ecuador is the launching point for this new wave of cheap yayo flooding. If not your town yet, then a town near you, and it's coming soon. That's your update on the narcos. El Mencho. I mean, here's as you saw in a news clip 6 years ago, they did a roundup of 600 CJNG people around the country, and a bunch were in Chicago. Well, they're even more entrenched now. They've taken over some of the dealers that had been dealing with the Chapo's remnants, Mayo's remnants. Because, you know, if you're a dealer, you just want who's got the best price and the most constant supply, and that's CJNG. The YAYO market is huge, and it has a lot of markup in it. Al Profit American Dope.
Tonight, this symbol of his global drug conglomerate, the $10 million reward for El Mencho's arrest, has just been increased to $15 million.